My name is Anna. I'm 42 years old, a mother of two children, and I work as a nurse in a small hospital outside of Dallas, Texas. My life, up until the day of the accident, was ordinary, busy, full of stress and responsibilities, but also full of the little joys that come from family dinners, laughter at the table, and late night talks with my husband. I wasn't the kind of person who spent a lot of time thinking about death or eternity. My faith was something I carried lightly. I had grown up going to church, but over the years, the routines of life dulled my passion. I believed in God, yes, but prayer had become rare, and sometimes I even doubted if He truly listened. Most mornings were rushed, packing lunches for the kids, checking my schedule at the hospital, sipping lukewarm coffee in the car while the sun rose over the freeway. I thought I had time, plenty of time to worry about the deeper questions of life later. Right now, there were bills to pay, soccer practices, patients who needed me, and a million small things demanding my attention. If someone had asked me, "Are you ready to die today?" I would have laughed nervously and brushed it off. I was healthy. I exercised. I didn't smoke. Death was something far away, something for the elderly, not for me. But life has a way of shattering illusions in the blink of an eye. On an ordinary Tuesday in March, everything changed. That morning was cloudy, the air heavy with the smell of rain. I kissed my kids goodbye as they got on the school bus. I remember my daughter turning back to wave, her small hand bright against the gray sky. I didn't know it would be the last image I would carry into the moment of my death. I got into my car, turned on the radio, and started the 30-minute drive to work. I wasn't texting, I wasn't distracted, just driving, like I had hundreds of times before. But then, in a second that felt like eternity, I saw a truck coming toward me, swerving out of its lane. I remember the screech of brakes, the violent spin of metal, glass exploding like stars around me. The impact was deafening. And then, silence. The world around me slowed into fragments. I remember the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears and then fading. Pain shot through my chest and then nothing. It was as though someone had turned off a switch. The next moments are impossible to describe in earthly terms. I felt myself being pulled out of my body, as though gravity had let go of me. I could see the wreckage below, the twisted metal of my car, the broken glass scattered across the road, and my own body slumped over the steering wheel. The strange thing was, I wasn't afraid in that moment. I was shocked, yes, but what I felt most was detachment. My body looked like a shell, like something that used to belong to me but no longer defined me. Ambulances arrived. I could see paramedics rushing, shouting, pulling at the door with tools to free me. I could see my own blood staining the seat. I should have panicked, but I didn't. I was watching from above like a silent observer. And then something happened. I became aware of a presence, something pulling me upward, like a current of air or a river of light. The sky above me opened, and I felt myself being drawn into it. There was a tunnel, vast and luminous, yet not blinding. It pulsed with warmth and love, like the very air was alive with song. The closer I moved, the less I cared about the wreckage below. My children, my husband, my career, everything I thought mattered began to fade. Not because they weren't important, but because I was being consumed by something infinitely greater. The tunnel wasn't empty. I could sense others, souls, moving with me, ahead of me, behind me, all drawn toward the same radiant source. At the end of the tunnel was a light unlike any light I've ever seen. It wasn't harsh or burning, but it was impossibly bright. And within it, I saw him. Not the Jesus of paintings or statues, not the distant figure from stained glass windows. This was Jesus, living, real, overwhelming in love and power. The moment I saw him, I fell. Not physically, because I had no body, but inwardly. Every part of me knew, this is the King. This is the one who holds everything. And then he spoke my name, Anna. His voice wasn't like sound. It was inside me and around me at the same time. It was gentleness and thunder, love and authority woven together. And when he looked into me, I realized there was no hiding. Every secret, every thought, every choice in my life lay bare before him. When my eyes, or whatever I had in that state, met his, I was undone. I felt completely exposed, yet not condemned. His gaze carried both justice and mercy, like fire and water flowing together. He didn't look like the pictures I had grown up with. His face was strong, with lines of sorrow and joy, his eyes deep like oceans, filled with eternity. His robe seemed to shimmer with living light, and his presence radiated peace that crushed every fear. But I also felt something terrifying: the weight of truth. I wanted to speak, to explain myself, to defend the wasted years, the shallow faith, the times I had chosen selfishness over love. But before I could say anything, he raised his hand slightly, and everything around us shifted. The light expanded, and suddenly I was standing, or existing, within a vast expanse that wasn't heaven or earth. It was like a courtroom, but not of this world. There was no judge's bench, no jury, no lawyers, just his presence and the undeniable reality of who I was in front of him. Then Jesus asked me something that pierced deeper than any blade could. He said, "Anna, when you stand before me on the last day, there are three questions I will ask you. And these are the questions I will ask every soul." My spirit trembled. These weren't questions of curiosity. They were the essence of judgment, the dividing line between eternity with him or eternity without him. The first question burned into me: did you learn to love? Images of my life flashed before me. Times I had spoken harshly to my children. Moments when I chose comfort over compassion. The countless times I had ignored the needs of others because I was too busy or too tired. Love had been on my lips, but how often had it truly been in my actions? I wept, though I had no tears in that place. Then came the second question: what did you do with the life I gave you? I saw my years stretched out like a scroll, the opportunities wasted, the gifts left unused, the dreams God had planted, but I had neglected. I had lived for survival, for small comforts, but how often had I truly lived for Him? And finally, the third question. This one shook me to my core. Whom did you follow? At that moment, I realized that every choice in life was really about allegiance. Was I following my own desires, the voices of the world, or was I following Him? As He spoke those three questions, the world around us transformed. I was shown visions, not vague dreams, but living realities, more vivid than anything on earth. First, I saw a sea of people standing before a great throne. Nations, tribes, languages, all gathered. Some were radiant with joy, clothed in light, while others were trembling, covered in shadows. The difference wasn't wealth, success, or religion. It was whether they had known Him, truly known Him, and followed Him in love. Then another vision opened before me. I saw cities rising in darkness, towers of greed and pride, people chasing pleasures while ignoring the cries of the broken. And then, like cracks spreading through glass, everything began to collapse. Fires, floods, wars, chaos swallowing what people thought would last forever. And through it all, I heard His voice again. This world is passing away. Only what is done in love will remain. The final vision was more personal. I saw my own children, years into the future, standing at crossroads in their lives. I saw how my choices, my prayers, or my neglect would shape them. It wasn't just about me. It was about generations to come. My faith or my failure would echo in their lives. Jesus turned to me, and His eyes were filled with both compassion and sorrow. "Anna," He said, "so many live as though this life is all there is. But I tell you, eternity is real, and every soul will face these questions. Did you love? What did you do with your life? Whom did you follow?" His words sank into me like fire branding my soul. I knew this wasn't just for me to hear. It was for everyone. For you, for those who think tomorrow is guaranteed, for those who chase everything but Him. I fell before Him, though again I had no body, and I cried out, "Lord, I don't know if I can ever be worthy." He reached out His hand, and when He touched me, I felt waves of love so fierce, so overwhelming, it undid all my shame. "You cannot earn it," He said gently, "but you can receive it. Follow me, live in my love, share what I have shown you." In an instant, the visions faded. The light dimmed, though His presence never left me. I felt myself being pulled backward, away from Him, through the tunnel again. I cried out, "Please don't let me go, let me stay." But he only said, "It is not your time. You must tell them." The next thing I knew, there was pain, searing, crushing pain in my chest. Voices shouting, machines beeping. I gasped for air as though drowning. My eyes opened, and I saw bright lights above me, the hospital ceiling. A doctor was leaning over me, sweat on his brow, nurses rushing around. One of them shouted, "She's back! We've got a pulse!" I was alive. Tears streamed down my face, not from the pain, but from the shock of being torn out of his presence. I wanted to go back. More than anything, I wanted to remain with Jesus. But instead, I was here, back in the fragile shell of my body. My family rushed into the room hours later. My husband's face was pale, my children clinging to his arms. When they saw my eyes open, their cries filled the room. I tried to speak, but my voice was weak. The only words I managed to whisper were, "I saw him. I saw Jesus." The doctor said I had been clinically dead for several minutes. My heart had stopped after the accident. By all accounts, I shouldn't have survived. But I knew I hadn't just survived. I had been sent back. The weeks after my recovery were a blur of pain, surgeries, and physical therapy, but something inside me had changed forever. I couldn't stop thinking about his questions. They echoed in my soul every day. Did you learn to love? What did you do with the life I gave you? Whom did you follow? I began to see everything differently. The small annoyances that used to make me angry no longer mattered. The money, the deadlines, the endless chasing of things, they all seemed so hollow. What mattered was love. I started praying with my children every night. I began reaching out to neighbors, coworkers, strangers, even patients at the hospital, not with forced preaching, but with genuine compassion. I wanted my life to be an answer to his questions, but I also knew I couldn't keep silent. That's why I'm sharing this now with you watching or listening. Friend, I don't tell you this to scare you, but to wake you up. Death is real. Eternity is real. And one day you too will stand before him. He will look into your soul with eyes of fire and love, and he will ask you those same three questions. Are you ready? I wasn't. I thought I had time. But by his mercy, I was given another chance. You may not have that chance. None of us know the day or the hour. Please don't wait. Don't live as though this life is all there is. Turn to him, follow him, learn to love. Use your life for something eternal. I stand here today not because I survived an accident, but because Jesus gave me life again. And I promise you, the love I felt in his presence is beyond anything this world can offer. So if you hear my story, let it move you, not toward fear, but toward hope. Because even the terrifying questions are wrapped in his mercy. And when the day comes, may we all stand before him and hear the words we long for. Well done, enter into my joy.